Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic.
I'm Barry P. Cook, and I'm here to talk about the latest episode of The Flash entitled Heart of the Matter Part 2, the Season 7 finale. We start out this episode with Bart still down, I guess in a coma still, and the Godspeeds are still warring with themselves and basically messing up the city. Barry, of course, left off last episode having projected his consciousness into the consciousness of this Hart character, who I guess is the original Godspeed, so he's still in there, and he's confronting Hart, who is jealous of organic speed, I guess because his speed is something that he only has because he developed a consumable formula, and he's not as fast as an organic speedster, so that's what he's after. He demands to be made into an organic speedster, and says that in exchange he will reabsorb his clones and stop the war that's messing up the city. Barry, of course, refuses because he knows that if he gives this guy organic speed, he's going to be even more of a terror to deal with. He'll be even harder to defeat whenever he undertakes his next plot, evil plot. So the guy kicks him out of his mind. Hart kicks Barry out of his mind. Next, we see Cecile having a talk with the actual Hart outside of his body, where, of course, he doesn't have his memories. And it turns out he's kind of despondent over being, I guess, a bad guy. But she tells him, you don't have to be, you can be whatever you want, even if you, recover your memories or whatever. And they kind of leave it there. We then see where Chuck visits with Allegra, and he tells her that it's not her fault that Esperanza died. She went off on her own to do this thing, and it's not on Allegra. He says, you're a hero. You've saved Barry's life from one of the Godspeeds back in the pipeline when we had one contained there and it got out. So she says, yeah, okay, you're right, and they go off. I guess this happens because, well, for a number of reasons, what Chuck said is true, and I don't think he wants her to feel badly, and also, they need her around. She's part of the team. They want to have her participate in taking down the Godspeeds, and they need her help to build or rebuild the zappy machine that they, I guess, figure out they can use. I don't know. Anyway, that comes up later. I just want to take a moment to say now that John Wesley Shipp is so awesome on this show as the senior statesman of speed, and I'm trademarking that moniker. He just plays the particular part so well, and that's the part of an older guy who's been in the hero business a long time, who has a lot more life experience than the rest of Team Flash. And they've wisely written him as kind of a mentor figure, kind of a father figure, and kind of an old-fashioned guy, because he talks and conducts himself kind of like an old-fashioned hero, which of course makes sense because the character is an old-fashioned hero from, I guess, the golden age of comics versus the silver age, which is the comic era that Barry Allen Flash is from. So there's just a really cool tone to all of his scenes where you just feel like your wise uncle is there and he's going to guide you through stuff and you can lean on him. And you just feel a sense of class in the room when this character is there because he conducts himself like a gentleman. And I think that's due in no small part to the way John delivers the lines that he's given. The lines are part of it, direction is part of it, but John's just very good in the part. And I don't say that because I've met him a couple times and I've talked to him a few times on Facebook and kind of know him a little. I'm saying that because it really is cool when he's on the show. In this one scene, we'll get to that in a second. The next scene we actually come to is we see Joe under attack. He's on a bridge in Central City. He gets out of his car because there's a huge fight going on between the Godspeeds, and the captain lady is there with him, and they're both outside the car, and they're trying to get away or help people, get away or whatever. And one of the Godspeeds gets a hold of him, and he's about to put a vibrating super speed hand right through him and kill him, as the captain watches on from a distance, and they cut to her, and is obviously distressed by it. And all of a sudden, the scene like goes into slow motion, and she starts crackling with white lightning, and she takes off like a shot and runs over to Joe and knocks out the Godspeed. And I was like, what? What the hell just happened? Kramer is a speedster? Like, what did I just see? It was very strange. But they cut away from there, and we find that the team is out in the field confronting the Godspeeds, including Bart, who was previously revived by Speed Force Nora, who I forgot to mention had shown up earlier and juiced up the team with like a super punch up of Speed Force power. In fact, when it happened, Bart rather was very thrilled to see Jay, who I guess in the future is deceased, but he doesn't let on, which is good because he shouldn't. But anyway, they're out in the field, including younger Nora, including Iris in her super suit, which was very cool. Bart, Flash, Jay Garrick, they're all there. They're confronting the Godspeeds. Bart taunts a bunch of them, and they confront him. And that's actually the moment when the team arrived. And even Speed Force Nora was there. And there's a big fight scene that breaks out. And we get even a little sort of focused fight sequence between one or two of the Godspeeds, and actually like 4 or 5 of the Godspeeds, and Jay, who supercharges his hat with speed lightning and tosses it. And it bangs back and forth between the different Godspeeds and knocks them out. And he catches the hat back and he puts it on and he goes, "It's just so cool." It's just so very cool. But then we find out that Force Nora has to leave the scene because the fact that she's so full of speed energy is actually helping the Godspeeds stay charged and be able to go on fighting. So she takes off. And right at that moment, Allegra shows up and zaps these guys with the machine thing. But in the process, it melts down. It has a meltdown. So they take off from there because they know it won't last. The Godspeeds won't be down long. The next thing we see is Mecha Vibe, I guess, which is what Cisco is going by now, and Frost also fighting some Godspeeds in a different part of the city. And they end up going under some kind of bubble that Vibe creates, and it causes the Godspeeds to take off. So that's cool. The next thing we see is back at Star Labs. Several speedsters get together and super speed rebuild the SSE, which I guess is the name of that machine that sends a blast out that knocks out the Godspeeds. But after resisting the idea all episode, Barry decides he's going to give August the organic speed that he wants with a jump start that will also restore his memories. And he's doing this with a backup plan ready to go. And August turns evil as soon as he gets the speed. So Barry sets his backup plan in motion as Godspeed reabsorbs his clones just like he said, but then threatens to kill Barry. Speed Force Nora has retreated to her Speed Force home. She's taken Iris with her, and she says, "I'm going to use you as an anchor, Iris, and I'm going to concentrate and hopefully put Barry's backup plan in motion." While that's happening, Barry and Godspeed are running around the city. They're fighting. Godspeed manages to get Barry down, and he's attacking him when all of a sudden something zooms in and knocks the Godspeed on his ass. And we cut back to Star Labs, and you see on the screen, it's flashing. It says, "Reverse Flash, Reverse Flash, Reverse Flash." And they're like, "Is that Reverse Flash?" And Iris says, "You're damn right it is," or something like that. And they cut back to the scene where Barry is, and sure enough, there's Eobard Thawne vibrating at super speed, coming to a stop and revealing himself as Eobard Thawne, and who is apparently there to help Barry this time, to take out Godspeed, who is a crazy person, in exchange for, I guess, being pulled out of having been trapped in the Speed Force or something, Speed Force. Godspeed, of course, thinks this is hilarious, that Barry has had to turn to his ultimate nemesis in order to defeat him, and he somehow calls down a bolt of lightning from the sky that he can use as like a sword of light or a light type of saber. if you will. At which point, both Barry and Thawne conjure up their own lightsabers of lightning, one red, one yellow, and the three of these characters, I shit you not, have a speed lightning saber fight in the middle of Central City, and it was cool as hell. When the fight was over, it turned out that Thawne had nearly fatally stabbed Godspeed with his lightning thing, and Godspeed goes down. Barry says, you know, you almost killed him, and Thawne says, so what? You needed my help, so I helped. And he says, now I'm gonna kill you. And he goes to attack Barry, but Barry is so much faster than him at this point that he's able to see it coming a mile away, and he grabs him and throws him on his ass. And Thawne doesn't like this. He says, you know, I trained you. I taught you everything you know. You're only you because of me. What happened to you? And he says, I got faster, didn't you? And Thawne says, no, but I'm going to, and I'm going to come back, or something like that. And he takes off. And so that was pretty much the end of the action of the episode. Except right after that, Barry says to Iris, you know what? You never got the wedding that you wanted, so I'm going to try to give you the wedding you want. And he gets on a knee and says, will you marry me again? And she says, yes. So they have this wedding ceremony at the West household, Joe's house, and everybody's there except Wally, which is kind of sucky. Iris is a vision in red when she comes down the stairs, so it was really cool. Bart actually sings a song, and apparently that actor has some pipes because he did a really good job. Then they do the vows, and Iris says something like, you know, they say that love is just friendship that catches fire, but our love is a friendship that was struck by lightning. And so I was immediately like, I'm not crying, you're crying. They did a slow motion kiss, and I was worried for a second because to achieve this, Barry kind of goes into speed mode, and he slows down time. And so his lightning comes up and it's kind of yellow, and I'm like, please tell me Thawne doesn't show up and kill her, because that's exactly the kind of moment on these shows where stuff like that tends to happen. And also, of course, he does kill her in the comics. And I was thinking, that's what they're going to do. It's the season 7 finale. They're going to have him kill her. It's going to be a cliffhanger, and I'm going to lose my shit. Fortunately, they didn't do that. So I was glad for that. Of course, they could come back and open next season and show that happen, or they could come back and open next season after a time jump where they explain that that happened, or both, and then have Barry spend the rest of the season trying to hunt down Thawne, while at the same time moving forward and somehow finding love again, which happened in the comics, which then led to Thawne almost killing his new bride, which led to Barry killing Thawne, which led to Barry going on trial, at the end of which he was cleared because of interference from the future from someone who I forget. I think it was actually Iris, because in the comics, Iris is from the future. So her future self was somehow still alive. I forget how they did it. And Barry goes off to live with Iris in the future. And that actually ended Barry Allen's original run in the comics. So they could do that whole thing next season. And I don't really want to see them kill Iris, but if they do, and it ends up going the way of the comics and Barry ends up with her in the end, I'll be fine with it. So in a way, I kind of hope they do it, because they're saying that after season 8, Grant Gustin might not want to come back, which would mean they would either end the show anyway, or go on with either Wally, which is unlikely at this point, or Bart and XS. So I can see them doing it next season, and I almost want them to, because they've got to end the show sometime, and it would be a cool way to end it. Of course, if they didn't do that, and they end up having a season 9, and they do it at the end of season 9 instead, that would be cool as well. But I don't know. I think if I were the producers at this point, I'd be like, we should put the end game in motion, and we should follow the ending of the original run of the Barry Allen character. So I don't know. I'm just musing here. We'll have to wait till the show comes back to see what they do, whether they go in that direction or not. Just a quick note. It turns out that Captain Kramer, is a mimic meta. And the reason that she's not dead, even though I guess she should be because she was in that explosion that her brother caused, is because since he's immortal, she was able to mimic his immortality in order to survive the explosion. I guess sort of automatically, just like she automatically was able to quickly get to Joe and stop one of the Godspeeds from killing him. So that's pretty cool. I don't know if they're going to do that in the future because she kind of leaves Joe's house saying, I got to lay low for a while. So we don't even know if she's going to be back. But it would be cool if she is. I'm a big fan of redemption stories, because she says, well, I'm sorry I was a jerk before and wanted to kill all the metas because I am one, which is kind of cheesy, but at least it's a redemption. And I'm a big fan of redemption stories. So we'll see where that goes next season. But that was it. I thought it was an excellent finale. It's too bad that all the episodes can't be as good as these last two were. It's too bad that Jay Garrick can't be in the episodes more often. I know why they wouldn't necessarily want to do that, but I don't know. I think he's great when he's on the show, and it adds to the show quite a bit. So I wish they would do that. And I wish the plots of these episodes from week to week were more epic like they were these last 2 weeks. But anyway, that's that episode. Flash is off for the season. I'll be back with more reviews of The Flash next season. For now, I'm going to take my leave, and I say, as always, peace and long life.